It's been 3 physically and mentally challenging months since I came unbelievably close to dying when I crashed my paramotor from about 100 feet up.
Other than your arm, is there another part of the body that's injured?
No, I don't think so.
But fortunately, I only broke my neck, back, my pelvis, cracked some ribs, bruised my heart, my lungs, and then the arm kind of got the worst of it with a compound fracture.
I don't know what to do with my arm. It snapped.
Yes, sir, they're trying to get to you. The paramedics are on the way, okay?
Okay.
And I noticed my arm just wiggling.
Oh, fuck. My arm is...
Okay, hold on.
Like a jello.
And then even worse was how once the bone was sticking out, the elbow actually snapped off and just dropped on the desert floor, and one of the paramedics had to pick it up and put it in a Ziploc bag, which now I have as a souvenir. I plan on turning it into a necklace. Subscribe if you're into that. I'm incredibly lucky to even be here to make this video for you guys. I've experienced so much joy and appreciation just for being alive. On the other hand, I've also experienced horribly low lows that had me thinking, even if only for a moment, that I wouldn't regain my sense of self. After all, flying has always been my first love. The first time that my wife ever laid eyes on me, I was about 100 feet up. The day we got married, there were paramotors circling around us as we said our vows. When our daughters were born, there were paramotors just whizzing right by the window. I mean, seriously, it's been such a big part of me. But there to contest those incredible memories are the painful ones, starting with the morning that my friend, who I was flying my paramotor on level with, entered a flat spin from about 1,000 feet, never to recover, and died on impact.
An El Paso man is dead after a motorized hang gliding accident. One person dead.
One person has died.
Killed in a tragic accident
near the Santa Teresa
Airport.
Lee Boone's friend Anthony Vela was with him when his aircraft did go down. Friends who says he witnessed his final moments.
The pain was excruciating. Watching his aircraft go up in flames as I'm way up above, circling round and round in thick black smoke, crying my eyes out, knowing that I have nowhere to land. I was absolutely gone in my mind when my wheels finally touched down at the airport that was just across the street from the diner where he'd crashed. I braked to a really hard stop, and I took off my helmet and I chucked it into the front passenger seat of the trike that I had been flying. And then around that time, Jared, our mutual friend, had come screeching around one of the old hangars that housed all the old warbirds. When he came to a stop, he got out and he paced towards me, shaking his head, and he was like, he's gone, dude. His family, who I'd grown really close with over the years, had arrived on scene one by one. His wife's car made a clank, clank, clank sound because she jammed it into park long before her car had even stopped. It's these little memories that stick with you. I just stood there, frozen and confused, not far from his body, as his wife jumped out of the car and ran towards the smoldering wreck. I watched, as if through the eyes of another, as my friend grabbed his wife to stop her from seeing what I don't think I'll ever unsee. And then she let out a long scream, one that I hadn't heard since I was in that little chapel up on the hill in Missouri, attending the memorial services of my friends who'd been killed in action. The friends of Lee all gathered at my place that evening, and the slightly buzzed consensus was that Lee would have wanted us to fly again. But that alone was not enough to convince me to get back up there in the air. I flew that next morning because Lee wasn't flying a paramotor like we typically were flying. He was flying a powered hang glider trike, and a paramotor wouldn't dump you out of the sky like that. But 1 year later, in the same month that Lee had passed away, I found out.
It's here, Daddy. I don't see him.
You can see the moment Anthony Vela crashed his aircraft while flying approximately at 48 miles.
Oh! Shit!
Is here, Daddy?
Hey Siri!
It's Chuck.
All right, let's go.
Daddy, Chuck.
911 emergency.
Help me, please. I crashed my flying machine.
Are you in Texas?
Yes.
You reached Las Cruces. Let me get you transferred real quick. Give me 1 second, okay?
I need to call my wife.
The night before the crash, my wife and I were sitting on the couch talking about everything we'd wanted to do during our upcoming trip to my parents' lake house in Vermont. But less than 12 hours later, I was in the ICU preparing for a series of major surgeries, and Vermont couldn't be further from either of our minds. To watch the video of the experience that I had in the hospitals undergoing the surgeries and then going to the rehabilitation hospital, go ahead and click the link above to check out that video. We assumed that we would need to cancel our trip to Vermont because I was still required to be in the wheelchair 100% of the time, and my right arm didn't really feel like it was up to the task of taking numerous flights across the country with young kiddos.
Okie dokie, we are at the surgeons and we got our arm, my pelvis report back. Everything looks really good, better than we expected. And that's part of what's so amazing. Appointment went well today. Does it look like it's healing up good otherwise?
Oh yeah.
Like I could be an arm model?
But 1 week before our scheduled flights, my surgeon actually gave me the green light, which was amazing, but it also kind of freaked me out. I shared this concern with my pain doctor, who then decided to increase my dose of oxycodone, which is a double-edged sword. On one hand, I could be super dad, which I feel like I was during the travels, because half of the time we were traveling, I was carrying our 10-month-old daughter, and then the other half of the time, I had our 3-year-old feeling like a champion on that higher dose of pain medication. And once there, it all went really well. We went blueberry picking. We spent a lot of time down on the dock. We went for walks around the beautiful lakeside community. I even tried out swimming, although admittedly, I don't think I was ready for it. And I definitely wasn't ready for the kayaking that I ended up doing around the bay. That one actually hurt really bad. It was like the good old days, spending my summers out at the lake house.
Very stormy weather here in Ferrisburg, Vermont.
Reporting live. One evening, there was this huge thunderstorm, and I sat down with my wife and I opened up to her about my concerns for the pain medications. I felt like ever since the accident, I hadn't been myself. I was me, but I wasn't me. I just didn't want to take the opiates anymore. And so I stopped about 4 days before flying home, and holy hell, that was excruciating. Less than 24 hours after discontinuing the opiates, I started twitching and I was sweating even though I was freezing cold, and I would be completely exhausted but totally incapable of falling asleep.
Oh my God, I wish I could just sit here and be at peace.
As you can imagine, the flight home was pretty miserable. So on the other side of that double-edged sword, pain pills will f you up if you quit them cold turkey, assuming you've been taking them long enough for your body to become accustomed to having a narcotic substance on board. After a miserable day of traveling back home to Texas, I just barely managed to get myself into bed. And when I woke up the next morning, I started to feel good again. And to anybody going through withdrawals, my recommendation would be to lean on the people who care about you so long as they're trustworthy. In the thick of it, it may feel impossible to find any physical relief, but having someone to talk to does help. With my energy levels and my mental status returning to normal, I started to feel more and more accountable for my recovery. If I wanted to be there for my wife and kids, to truly pull my half of the weight, at least, then I would need to make it happen. The plan to regain my strength and perhaps even become stronger than I ever was before was simple. It's eat well, sleep well, and exercise. It's none of my therapist's responsibility to achieve my goals for me.
Painful?
No.
And there's no YouTube or Instagram influencer out there with their infinite wisdom on exercise plans and dietary suggestions that's going to help me get there either. Ever since the crash, especially ever since I discontinued the oxys, I have had a lot of pain, even in this very moment. But my mind is clear enough to accept that no, being hurt is not an excuse to sit on your ass and feel bad for yourself. If you get hit in the leg in the heat of battle, do you just keel over and die or wait for a combat medic to come and get you? I hope not. I will always place the mission first. I will never accept defeat, and I will never quit. I have come so far over these last 3 months, and I know that I have a long road to recovery ahead of me. But I know that I'll find the motivation to get to where I need to be because I'm a husband and a father. My wife and my children are my biggest source of motivation, and I owe it to them to get as strong as I can as soon as I responsibly can. So thank you for your continued support as I continue to push myself as hard as I ever have to regain my strength. I especially want to thank these very special patrons who helped me offset the cost to create this content, including the new video podcast that you can watch right here on this channel. Be sure to check out the first episode that I recorded with Tucker Gott, where we discuss the risk versus the rewards of learning how to fly a paramotor. We also discuss base jumping and just other high-risk activities and whether or not it's responsible, as well as some really juicy relationship stuff. I mean, woo, have you ever been dragged through the mud? Woo, I have. It's brutal, man. Anyways, finally, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel by clicking on the button below so that you get notified the moment I drop this really highly anticipated video where I take the motor off of my wrecked flying machine and I combined a certain piece of medical equipment to create a Frankenstein sort of contraption that you're not going to want to miss. It's going to be a good one. Love y'all, and I will see you down below in the comments. Later.